I have been involved in the world of finance and asset management for the best part of 30 odd years now. I have been involved in training people who are engaged in the financial world now for the last 7 or 8 years. In my former days, in my former career, I was actually the founder and CEO of an asset management company based in the United States. We also had offices here in Europe, of course. And then more recently, in the last few years, I have been engaged in professional education, training people in banking and financial services. The course is available on a distance learning platform. Basically, you access it via the web, use your web browser, of course. And there are, during the 16 weeks during which the course runs, there are 8 different modules. The modules are rolled out one after the other, as it were. And then by the time we've reached the end of that rollout, all 8 courses are up online. And then people who participate in the course have access to that platform for several weeks following the completion of the last module. The 8 modules themselves are in the form of a video screencast in which I will deliver, in some cases, more than one screencast, and I will deliver an online tutorial, if you wish, on the particular subject. I'll make reference, for example, to Excel workbooks. I'll make reference to various other documents, including PowerPoint slides and so on. And the idea is to go through specific topics. For example, in the case of this risk management course, we will cover liquidity risk, market risk, operational risk, and so on. And each of those will be treated in the 8 modules. During the course, we will look at all of the principal types of financial risk, which are market risk, credit risk, operational risk, liquidity risk. Those are the major ones. And we will dig into each of those topics in some depth. For example, in the case of market risk, we'll look at interest rate risk. So, for example, if you're holding a bond portfolio, you will be subject to interest rate risk, and I will explain all the various mechanics of that, what the impact of changing in interest rates will be on a bond portfolio. In the case of credit risk, we're not so much interested in looking at the changes in interest rates. We're more concerned with issues to do with default and probability of default and so on. And then if we move on to topics like, for example, liquidity risk, this was one of the major problems that arose during 2007-8, which led to the financial crisis. And the issue of liquidity risk, specifically for banks, is now become one of the first level categories of risk. I think it's fair to say that since the financial crisis of 2008, there has been a much greater perception of the need for improvement in risk management. The banking crisis or financial crisis that occurred back then showed that many banks, financial institutions, were poorly equipped to deal with the extreme circumstances that arose during that period, where, for example, liquidity became virtually non-existent in financial markets in the second half of 2008 after the collapse of Lehman Brothers and so on. And it's also fair to say that the regulators, the principal regulators around the world, the Basel Committee, the central banks, the Bank of England here in the UK or the Federal Reserve in the United States, they have become very preoccupied with the methods of risk management. So this is very much a topical course, deals with issues that anybody working in financial services needs to be paying close attention to. One of the challenges with delivering an online course is to try to make it as practical and concrete, relevant to the various participants that will be taking this course from all over the world. So in order to achieve that, the method that I've used in delivering this content is to use a lot of examples where I will use Excel. And for example, if we were to take some particular kind of risk modeling, then I will demonstrate the actual practicalities. For example, in relation to liquidity risk, I will demonstrate some of the practical issues that are involved if you're working in a bank, or if you're planning to work in a bank at some point and you're involved in asset liability management and so on. Then the method by which that can be achieved, the method by which you can manage those kind of challenges successfully, can be easily exemplified or well exemplified by using concrete practical examples from Excel, using Excel worksheets. The course has been especially put together and created for people who either are already working in the financial sector, perhaps banking, perhaps some other area of asset management, or people who are thinking about entering that field. And one of the great virtues of a course like this is that it can be taken in your, you don't have to rearrange your life around the course. I mean, if you're going to take a course where you have to go once or twice a week to an institution, you are going to then have to plan around that. You're going to make yourself available on those particular evenings or whatever the time slot is. Whereas the great advantage of a course like this is that it can be taken in your own time. You have access to the platform throughout the period that you're enrolled on the course, which is 20 odd weeks at least, and you can then take in the content, absorb the content, come back over and over again, look at the material many times, and you're not constrained by having to work around a specific time each week that you've got to attend an actual course in a classroom. I think the main benefit from taking this course is that it gives you an opportunity to actually see in a very practical and real life setting, as it were, real life, using real life examples, the kinds of issues that people who work in the financial world are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And the case studies, the actual documentation that accompanies the course that you'll find on the platform in the form of Word documents, PowerPoint slides, Excel files, videocasts or screencasts. All of those are designed to try to make the course as relevant and useful for somebody who is either in this field already or planning to enter this field as part of their kind of ongoing career development.